Hello there and welcome to today's book review. Today I'm carrying out a review of Johnson Spencer's Who Moved My Cheese. This is a classic little fable about two little minds and two little people. This book was written in 1998 by Johnson Spencer, who since passed on. He died in 2017. Now he's left with us a gem that we all need to value. Who Moved My Cheese is a book that talks about the experience of these four little characters, the two little minds and two little people. As you read the book, you're going to discover that these little characters were living in a mess. And every morning they would go and look for cheese. And they found themselves living in cheese station number C, where there was a lot of cheese and they were enjoying themselves. But then one day they woke up and discovered that the cheese was gone. And the little mice, Scurry and Sniff, quickly moved on in the mess and started looking for new cheese. The little people, who, as you know, naturally we people are quite inquisitive, want to know why. Where has my cheese gone? The little people were stuck in cheese station C and were asking themselves questions as to what had happened to the cheese, and trying to solve the problem in terms of where somebody has to bring back our cheese. You might know, if you've read the book, that the cheese represents different experiences, things that we have an attachment to. It could be our work, it could be our marriages, it could be aspirations, things that we want to aspire to. It could be our cars, our material possessions, our houses, and a whole lot of things. So that could be the cheese. And the mess represents the journey that we go through in life, the experiences, the obstacles that we face as we navigate life. That's what the mess represents. Now, when reading the Who Moved My Cheese story, you discover that the mice were quick to learn and they quickly assessed their environments and quickly moved on. Whereas the little people were stuck in their humanness, if you like, of paralysis, right? So they spent a lot of time analyzing the situation and trying to find logical reasons as to what had happened. Let me give you the three biggest lessons I drew by reading this little book. And by the way, it's so little that you can actually read this book in an hour. It's like 94 pages. And the meat of the book actually is about 70 pages. So you can really actually read this book in less than an hour. So it's a good start for those of you that are afraid to reading. If you read this book, it could actually get you started to reading many more books. So the lessons I drew from reading this book, one of them is that we need to constantly evaluate our changing environment. Nowadays, we live in environments that are constantly evolving. And as a person, you need to always check out for changes that are happening in the environment. Because the experience of the cheese station C, of the little people, the characters that were in this cheese station, is that the mice, especially Sniff, he would sniff around and see that, no, the cheese was actually running out. It was getting little and little by the day. Whereas the little people were just going on with their life, enjoying the nice cheese. But Sniff could sniff that the cheese was running out. So the day that they discovered the cheese had completely run out, they quickly moved on in search of new cheese. Whereas the little people were actually stuck and wondering what had happened to the cheese, because they were not assessing the environment in which they were living. So a big lesson is that you need to constantly evaluate and check the environment you are living in. Take notice of nuances, little changes that are happening in the environment, because they are there. And when you do start taking stock of the changes that are happening, it will allow you to embrace change, which is the next lesson that I drew. You need to be able to embrace change when you notice that the environment in which you are living in is starting to change. And when you embrace change, you are then able to move on to better and other opportunities. The journey might be difficult. You do not know what you are going to face as you go out there. You will face a lot of uncertainty. But what is better? Remaining stuck where there's no cheese? The cheese has already been taken away. You don't have that job. You don't have that fancy, nice house or that beautiful car. The opportunity that you dreamed of becoming a CEO of some company has already been taken away from you. So what would you rather do? Get stuck analyzing what had happened? Who was to blame? Who is to blame? Who caused this? Or are you quickly going to assess the situation and embrace change and move on to other opportunities that could be staring right in your face? So the second lesson is you need to embrace a change. After analyzing the environment, after analyzing the situation, quickly move on and embrace change. What would you do if you were not afraid? This is a question that runs through almost my cheese. And it's a question that you need to ask yourself. If we remove fear from the equation, let's say the little people were not afraid of venturing out in the mess to look for better cheese elsewhere. What would they do? Can you imagine that? Ask yourself the same question. What would you do if you are not afraid? If today you remove the fear of, well, I lost out the opportunity of becoming CEO at this company. Well, my car has been repossessed or my house has been repossessed. Remove that fear. What would you be able to do? For me, I'll be able to go back to the drawing board and reassess, better look at other opportunities, reassess my environment and look at other connections, other opportunities, other doors that I might not have paid a particular attention to. So ask yourself this question regularly. Because oftentimes we are afraid of the unknown because we don't know what is out there. And that is what holds many of us back from venturing out into seeking other opportunities, other environments. What else is out there? So the third lesson I drew by reading Who Moved My Cheese is that we need to confront our fears head on. Okay? So confront your fear and ask yourself, if I wasn't afraid, what would I be able to do? You might discover that your fear is actually based on assumptions that might not be true. And by addressing this question of fear head on, you're actually going to be courageous and venture out into new avenues that are going to lead to, doors opening, other doors opening for you, and that are going to give you better experiences than what you had even envisioned. In the book, on page 46, there's a quote. As Ho, one of the little people, ventured out in the mess and was looking for new cheese, he left his friend behind, him, because him was stuck. He just couldn't believe that the cheese was gone, and he was stuck in cheese station C trying to find out who had moved the cheese. So Hall, as he was venturing out into the mess, was leaving little quotes and messages for his friend, so that when his friend suddenly wakes up and decides to follow him, he's going to be reading these quotes and they're going to be encouraging him through the mess until he finds, the cheese where Hall was going to be. So one of the quotes on page 46 says, if you do not change, you can become extinct. And it's so true because, when him remained in cheese station C, he was starving, he was stressed, and yet he couldn't just decide to take a step and start moving forward. Do you know, at the end of the story, we are not sure if him joined Hall and the little mice, because all we are told is that Hall started hearing somebody footsteps. He started hearing like someone is heading towards the direction where they were, and he was hoping that it was him. And I hope him really joined him, because if he didn't, what might have happened to him? He was going to die of starvation. There was no cheese in cheese station C. So if you do not embrace the change, you can become extinct. And it's the same thing for you. Nowadays, we are talking about artificial intelligence, and it's something that is changing our landscapes. It's something that is changing our workspaces. Are we going to embrace the change, or are we going to deny that it's here and wondering what happened to, when this and this was that? Are we going to embrace that change and utilize it? Okay, so if you don't, you will become extinct. The other lesson, which is important, is what you find on page number 58. It's another quote that Hall left as he was venturing out into the mess looking for new cheese. So he says, imagining yourself enjoying your new cheese leads to it. This is a brilliant quote. Imagining yourself enjoying your new cheese leads to it. simply indicates that when you are able to imagine better chances, better opportunities, better environments, a new job, a new car, a new marriage, a better house, if you're able to imagine that situation, it will give you the courage to pull through and venture out to look for these new opportunities. And so even as you struggle through, changing environments, always imagine these better opportunities and that it's going to be a better path for you to take when you venture out. It's not all loss. So always imagine yourself in new opportunities, in a new house, driving a better car with a better spouse or a better partner, And so for me, this is a brilliant lesson in terms of imagination, imagining the new environment that you want to be in, because the old one has been closed out. Page 60 talks about the quicker you let go of the old cheese, the sooner you find new cheese. Can you imagine that? If you quickly let go of that position that has been taken away from you, you wanted to be CEO, suddenly they've dropped you, you quickly let go of that situation. The quicker you do that, the faster you're going to find a better position. You never know, another company could have been hiring you and quickly they're going to call you, and because they identify your potential, they are going to pick you as their new CEO. All right, so the quicker you let go of the old cheese, whatever is holding you back, the faster you're going to find new cheese. So as I conclude the review of Who Moved My Cheese, I would like to state that really you need to move with the cheese, move with the times, always adapt to changing environments. Who Moved My Cheese is a great book for those of us that are experiencing change. We need to identify that we are changing, the environment in which we are in is changing, and quickly move on without getting stuck into our cheeseless situation. And so this is a book I encourage you to pick up today. I picked up mine in a bookshelf in Zambia, and I believe you can find yours anywhere in the world. Thank you so much for watching, and if you've subscribed already, a million thank you to you for subscribing to my channel. If you haven't subscribed, consider subscribing by clicking the subscribe button. It is up here. Click subscribe today. Thank you so much, and see you next time.